Thing one tonight, Gary Cohn, former Goldman Sachs CEO and President Trump's chief economic advisor, pitched a hard sell of the president's big tax cut plan and was unveiled this week. And he showed just how in touch he is with the prices of things. When Cohn was asked about the tens of millions of dollars the president would personally receive from his tax proposal, Cohn, who claimed $250 million in assets when he started working in the White House, ignored the question about the president's spoils and responded instead on behalf of the American people.
I think what the American people are concerned about is their financial position. I think what they're concerned about is when they go to work every week and they get their paycheck at the end of the week, how much do they get to keep? How much goes in their pocket versus how much goes to the government? How much do they get to spend versus how much do they send to the government? If we allow a family to keep another $1,000 of their income, what does that mean? They can renovate their kitchen. They can buy a new. They can buy a new car.
Oh yeah, you can totally get a new car for $1,000.
Introducing the new Yugo, a paramount engineering achievement from Yugoslavia. From busy traffic to rough terrain, Yugo will lead you anywhere. From the west to east coast, Yugo defeats the competitors. Reliability is his second name. Dependability and safety now have a totally new meaning. Do not hold your horses. Your dream of a tough, dependable car can finally be fulfilled.
Okay, well, that was 1985, and that car was actually $4,000. But none of that matters if you're not getting Gary Cohn's $1,000 in the first place, which is thing two in 60 seconds.
I think what the American people are concerned about is their financial position. If we allow a family to keep another $1,000 of their income, what does that mean? They can renovate their kitchen. They can buy a new. They can buy a new car.
Director of President Trump's Economic Counsel, Gary Cohn, failing the Price is Right in his rollout of the Trump cut plan this week. And about that $1,000 the average American is going to get as a tax break, not so much. The Tax Policy Center crunched the numbers, quoting CNBC, the biggest winner would be the richest 1% of U.S. taxpayers who would get more than half of the benefits of the entire plan, according to the center. But as Vox notes, middle-class households earning between $49,000 to $86,000 would get about $660 back. The poorest fifth of Americans earning $25,000 or less would only get $60. So the people who are really going to be able to redo their kitchens or buy new cars are people like Gary Cohn.
I was going to make some opening remarks.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.